Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm here to do a cartoon flashback to kind of tie into an animated girl's profile confidential that I did yesterday, and that was of course on the character Sandra Shore. And the show that I'm talking about, the cartoon that I'm talking about to tie in with that is Inhumanoids. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what is Inhumanoids, Brian? Well, I've talked about it before, and as a matter of fact, I got to give credit to James Wolfe of the Cinemassacre.com, also known as the Angry Video Game Nerd, for kind of basically telling everybody, or doing a review on it, as I check something here for a second. There we go. Just got to make sure that's balanced. But like I said, I have to give credit to James Wolfe 9 years ago for doing a Cinemassacre Monster Madness review on Inhumanoids. Because of the fact that even then, I didn't even know about Inhumanoids, and this was a show that came out in the mid-80s. Now, a little bit of the origin, because I researched it throughout the years and became invested in it, or became interested in it, to the point that I actually went on a torrent. It wasn't DVD Fab, but I went on a torrent and got most of the episodes right here on DVD. What I did is I found them on a torrent and downloaded all the episodes, and then used the Windows DVD Maker to basically burn them onto a DVD, or 2 separate DVDs. Now, again, as I was looking into Inhumanoids throughout the years, one thing that I've noticed or found out through other people talking about it, I should say, was the fact that it was part of this half-hour serial variety show known as Super Sunday. Long story short, the Super Sunday show consisted of 7 to about 10-minute serial segments. The serial being episodic kind of deal, like what you used to see in between the 1930s and 1950s and stuff like that, and even as early as the 20s. You would see these little serial reels, episodic serial reels that you would have to come back to the theater to watch the conclusion of or the continuation of, when you would go see a movie the next time you would go to the theaters. It was kind of like that. And it consisted of 4 shows: Robotics, Bigfoot, Gem and the Holograms, and Inhumanoids. And Inhumanoids and Gem were the 2 that were greenlit out of the 4. However, unfortunately, Inhumanoids did not manage to get the success that Gem did, and it was all due to the controversy that I believe, in my opinion, and others may agree with this, that followed it. You see, basically, Inhumanoids, Hasbro had all the good intentions in the world to make it a popular property. You know, make it part of their big 4, thus making it into a big 5, if you will. However, due to that controversy, it didn't succeed. And the controversy I'm talking about is with not only the show itself, but with the toys that it was based on. And I think the controversy followed Inhumanoids as a show, you know, even beforehand with the toys, because you see, the toys were being produced, I should say, and released. Easy for me to say, around the same time the show was being in development and being released as a 15-part mini episode serial on Super Sunday. Now, like I said, the show did succeed enough to get greenlit for a series, but it only got 8 more episodes added to it. You see, what they did is they took the 15 to 17 part or mini part episodic serials known as The Evil Lies Within, and basically combined them into 5 separate 22 to 30 minute half-hour episodes, or a mini-series pilot, or as some video releases like High Top Video back in the 80s called it, a feature-length film. Even though it was direct-to-video, and it was originally in actuality a 5-part, half-hour, 22 minute to half-hour miniseries pilot. Now, I talk about the controversy that followed it, and, you know, the controversy, you know, was something I think Hasbro was trying to hang their hat on, thinking that, hey, people are talking about this, maybe they'll want more, maybe we can produce more. But it was the kind of controversy that would come back to bite them. Because even though this is a practice that's even utilized today, you know, where if people are talking about it, from a controversial standpoint or dislike standpoint, that hey, as long as people are talking, let's give them more. Obviously, people are talking about it, let's give them more. Even if they don't care about it, or they feel it's not right, or it's controversial, it shouldn't be. A lot of companies, even nowadays, and even back then, will instead of listening to the people, instead of listening to that backlash or that controversy and realizing, hey, maybe this is not the best idea, Hasbro ran with it. They ran with it and produced basically 8 more episodes to go along with the 5-part pilot that originated from a 15 to 17 part mini episode serial. Anyway though, like I said, it's all because, in my opinion, the controversy finally catching up with Hasbro, that Hasbro had no choice but after the 13th episode to pull the series. Basically, the controversy and backlash that they were hoping would probably propel the series to the accolades and the success that they saw with Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, that they were seeing with Jim. That success, that they were hoping would be propelled because of the talking that people were making, the controversial discussions they were making on this. It backfired. And I think, honestly, what caused it to backfire was the parental groups. And basically, a lot of the parental groups, mostly moms, no offense when I say that, looked at this and said, no, we don't want this show on the air. We don't want these toys sold anymore. And maybe there were a lot of complaints that kids were having nightmares. I mean, you see the character, like I mentioned in my Animated Girls Profile Confidential yesterday, Sandra Shore. You see her being turned not once but twice into an undead zombie. And that's going to give kids nightmares. You have a character that eats its own siblings when they're born, and you see blood and everything coming out of its mouth while it's eating them, and they're being digested in the stomach, in its stomach while you're seeing them in there. That's going to cause a lot of nightmares maybe in the minds of a lot of parents. So my honest opinion is I think a lot of parental groups stepped up and they said, look, this is not a good idea for a toy line. This is not a good idea for a show. Hasbro, you pull it, or we're going to have it pulled for you. And I think this got the attention of the FCC to the point that the FCC was the one that contacted Hasbro and Marvel Productions and Sunbow and said, pull it. It's getting too much bad press, it's getting too much bad controversy. You need to pull it. And I think the head at Hasbro, the head at the Hasbro company at that time finally acknowledged that, I should say, and in my opinion, made the call to have Inhumanoids pulled. And this is why, in my opinion, out of all the Hasbro properties that have been given somewhat of a revival throughout the past several decades, including recently, this is why I believe Inhumanoids has not been one of them. I mean, you take a look at the fact that IDW recently did the Hasbro crossover called Revelations, and you would think something like Inhumanoids could fit right in there with the likes of Micronauts and ROM, and Mask and G.I. Joe and Transformers, but they didn't. They didn't even consider it. Heck, IDW hasn't even considered putting a comic book out based on Inhumanoids because of the controversial backlash that happened about 35 years ago. About 35 years ago. So, I'm not surprised Inhumanoids, one of those Hasbro properties, that they still own, they still have the rights to, and they can do what they want with, hasn't really gotten any more publicity than what it did outside of, let's say, Rhino Home Video through the Rhinomation release, home video release, DVD release of the series. So, again, I'm not surprised, that, in Hasbro, hasn't really touched it in any kind of way. Now, do I think a revival could happen? Absolutely. If enough money is put on the table and there's a decent, this time, 35 years later, if there's a decent, well sought out plan on how to, promote it, to possibly be a success, then yeah, I could see Hasbro doing it. I mean, you have people like Kevin Smith, that has shown interest throughout the years of possibly doing an Inhumanoids revival. But the only way I think an Inhumanoids revival could happen is if they follow the pattern that Netflix followed with the Castlevania series that they brought out as part of the series, as an original series, the Castlevania anime. And that's basically promoted as a Hasbro animated show or anime that's for mature audiences only, for adults. You know, not for kids, for adults. That even though its origins are based on a toy line, this is a series that's not meant for kids, it's meant for adults. Kind of, like I said, follow the same pattern that they did with Castlevania, with the Netflix Castlevania series. You know, follow that same pattern. And if they plan out, and if Hasbro, like I said, decides, hey, let's make a deal with Netflix, like we did with Transformers War for Cybertron, you know, and whatnot, you know, I could see Hasbro saying, yeah, you know, let's do a revival, but let's make sure it's targeted towards the older audience, the adult audience, because of what it entails, what it's about, you know. And I think it could work. I think, honestly, a revival of Inhumanoids, a reboot of Inhumanoids could work, but I think they have to follow the same pattern that Netflix followed with the Castlevania series. And that's, in other words, promote the fact that, yes, it's animated, it's anime-inspired animation, but it's meant for the older people, for adults. That even though it's based on a toy line, like I said, it's not meant for kids. So yeah, I think if they plan it out that way, they make some kind of arrangement to go that route, then yeah, an Inhumanoids revival or reboot, I could see that happening. But until then, it's basically the black sheep of the family, of the Hasbro family. Even though, like Jim, it got greenlit out of those 4 Super Sunday animated serials, it basically became the black sheep of the family. In other words, it's known, people know about it, but it's also one of those that basically, you know, even though people know about its existence, you know, you can't touch about it. You don't talk about it as much. You may acknowledge it, you may bring it up, but it's one of those that, you know, you try to avoid. And if you're Hasbro, after what the backlash and controversy you got 35 years ago, yeah, you can't blame them unless, like I say, they come up with a more arranged solution and plan to revive it as an adult-only animation that Netflix could show under the MA rating or TV-14 rating. So, yeah, but besides that, you know, Inhumanoids, if you want something to get you into the Halloween mood, kind of binge during this month of Halloween, this is a series to do so. So, with that said though, guys, thank you all for watching this edition of the Cartoon Flashback. Let me know what you all think down below. What are your thoughts on Inhumanoids overall? If you've heard about it, if you grew up on it, and let me know if you think, if they get a revival or a reboot, do you think perhaps going the route that Netflix did, and probably doing it through Netflix, do you think Hasbro and Netflix should go the route that they did with Castlevania, with the Castlevania anime series, that they became a huge hit for them after it aired? Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, I should say. Let me know what you all think down below, though. Comment if you like. And until then, God bless, take care, stay safe. I'm out.